I will call the Bargersville Town Council meeting April 13th, 7 p.m. to order. Roll call to my right.
Preston Doyle.
James Ramel.
Andrew Greenwood.
Everybody can stand, pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first on the agenda, council business. Mr. Duke, your first up.
Yep, Mike Duke, 4300 North 725 West Bargersville. Just coming in just to give you an update on our Home-A-Rama that we're having at Aberdeen. One of the little flyers right there, which might have been emailed a couple weeks ago, we're having a Dusty Boots tour on Thursday, May 13th from 3 to 7 p.m. So it's just an opportunity to get a few people in just to see the homes, while they're in progress, get a little more activity for the neighborhood. On the one on the back side, it sort of shows, in the past, they've had 200 to 500 people come through this. And so we're just going to be able to do road parking on one side and barricade off the cul-de-sac, for safety there, where the homes are at. We have, personally met with or talked with the Johnson County Health Department, and Baggy's working with them. So we're just taking care, making sure we're doing all proper protocols and all that kind of stuff. So that's all in place too. So just wanted to let you guys know about that. The other sheet, the bigger sheet, sort of shows just our layout of what we're doing for the show, where we have parking and so on, and where we're going to be having like some food trucks, a little concert stage, some vendor displays. We doing development tours and where the show homes are at. So just thinking that's going to lay out really, really nicely. We should have, the agri-hood pretty far along as well. So we're working hard to get a lot of that all in growing processes right there back there. And we have James Hardy does like a Hardy board. They're putting in a lot of money, and they're going to help do like one of the weekends, a big event there as well, with us coinciding with the show. We're working along with Mallow Run with timing because they have the Wine at the Line, which will be sponsoring a lot of stuff. So, and they're going to be having, a presence here at the show as well. So we're just trying to really work with a lot of local people. So just want to give you just a quick update, nothing major. Got a lot on your agenda, but here, if I have any questions, I can glad to answer them too.
Council, any questions for Mr. Duke? Thanks for bringing
Yep,
this.
no problem.
Good. I appreciate the update. Thank you. All right, next on the agenda is the HR review of the COVID policy. Has everybody had a chance to review it? David, do you just need consensus on this, or just analysis? Consensus? Everybody okay with the policy, the updated policy? Okay, by consensus.
Yes.
Okay, we have the bids for the 2015 Charger and 2015 Cressler 200. Could we?
They were open, you just tabled them for consideration. You have the option to.
I think, Todd, were you gonna find out some information for us?
I sent Kelly Blue Book on all of them out. Andrew replied to it. They were kind of,
Yeah, a lot more than.
yeah, they were kind of, the Blue Book that I got was straight from Kelly Blue Book, so it gives you a lot of the different variances. I mean, we are in an auction. I know, I hate this as much as you guys do, because we were getting more money before, but I don't know that we're gonna get any more money for them than that. I mean, we can always hold out. The Chrysler 200s, I mean, it is what it is, but it's not in bad shape. Now, the Charger is a little questionable.
David, can we close that out and take another bid since we got new
You have the right
information?
to reject the bids.
Okay, council, any comments? I'd say maybe we go ahead.
I mean, what was the Chrysler, was 3250?
I think so,
And the
yeah.
Kelly Blue Book was, I mean, that was,
I would
the
call,
low end was 5.
yeah, I would call that car a clean car. Now, the Charger, no. I know it's got an oil leak, it's got front end problems. I mean, it's got a transmission slip. I mean, it's not a clean car. Just being forthcoming.
In full transparency.
Yes.
So like based on what you sent us, it was somewhere between 5 and 8 for the Chrysler,
Yeah.
and the bid was 3250, and then on the Charger, it was between 11 and 13, but you're saying that's probably,
But, and the person that bid, only one person bid on the Charger, called me and asked me all of those questions about the car. So he knows about the car and still bid that. So
We just have to make a decision whether we want to take another bid with new information or accept the highest bid. What was the bid again on the Charger?
4168.
41. Or 3250 on the 200
Yeah.
and 4168 on the Charger. Kelly Blue Book is 5,000 to 8,000 on the 200.
The other one, Blue Book was 8.
8 to 11 or something.
No, it's only 11 to
11,
13. Even if it's half the value, it's still $2,000 more than that bid. Can we do one and not the other?
I think we can do whatever we want.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah. Whatever the council wants.
Yeah, I mean, the 200's within reason, but the other was insulation.
All right.
I-
Well, I'll make a motion then to sell the 200 and go back to the drawing board on the,
Who are you awarding it to? Which one?
the one only bid on the high bid on the 200. He only, that's Zach Elliott, he only bid on that.
Okay, that's who you're
what,
awarding it to.
I think the other guy bid on both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's lower.
Oh, okay.
This
He
guy
was
did
lower
we're
than
taking
the
the
Chrysler.
highest CA.
So he's the highest, this Zach Elliott is the highest on the Chrysler 200.
So I have a motion by Mr. Greenwood to accept,
I think the motion needs to separate.
separate the,
Who you're awarding it
All
to.
right, I'll make a motion to accept the bid by Mr. Elliott for $3,250 for the 2015 Chrysler 200.
I have a motion by Mr. Greenwood, second, Mr. Rule. All in favor, raise your right hand. Aye, none opposed.
So you need a motion to open up
Yeah.
bids. Okay, I make a motion that we reject the current bid and open up new bids for the 2015 Dodge Charger.
I have a motion on the table.
Second.
I have a second. Ms. Qualls, all in favor, raise your right hand.
Aye.
Aye, none opposed. Okay. You good there, sir?
Yep.
All right. Okay, moving right along, I have an introduction, many areas of zoning map, planned unit development as Sawyer Farms PUD. And this is just the introduction.
Yes, just introduction.
Introduction,
I'll go over a potential timeline here
okay.
with you. Again, this is introduction of ordinance 2021-06, which is rezone 276-2020. This was heard and certified by the Planning Commission at their March 15th, my apologies, March 15th regular meeting with an unfavorable recommendation. With April 13th being the ordinance introduction, the zoning ordinance does call for a public hearing at town council. You all have the option to set that public hearing at the next regular meeting, which is April 27th, which is the day meeting, or push that to the night meeting, which would be May 11th. I did confer with legal, and we're in agreement that that public hearing needs to happen before there's a decision on the petition.
So you need to know from us on the 27th or
Yes, if we want to do the public hearing on the 27th or May 11th, which is the 7 o'clock meeting for May.
comments from the council? already?
I think it was easier for people to make the night meeting.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
would suggest the evening meeting.
Okay, Joe, we good with that by consensus? Are we okay with the evening meeting?
So that would take the second reading to May 27th, which is still within the 90 days from Planning Commission certification.
Okay.
90 days from Planning Commission certification would take that to June 14th. So we're well within that range. I believe the petitioner's here. If you'd like to entertain their presentation.
I think we're just gonna do the introduction and then we'll do, on the next go around.
Okay.
Okay.
So staff will advertise for first reading and public hearing at I just had it, May 11th regular meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
You got it. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Okay, the minutes from the regular meeting, March 30th, we're gonna table those to the next meeting. Yeah, Becky, do you know when we might be able to get those before the next meeting?
Yes, I should have them finished.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Julie?
Good evening. First tonight, we have Zach Berninger with Shrewsbury. He has two items, both related to Kephart Park. At the last meeting, we discussed the entrances, and council had requested that we look at the park in one entrance. So what you have in your packets tonight is a change order to the current contract to basically design that one entrance. I'll let Zach explain where we were in the design process as far as having plans complete and how close we were to getting that out to bid. And then the second item, if we're moving the entrances and changing the flow, consideration to look at the park itself and the master plan. So these are related items. And I had a couple conversations with Zach and with Roy on potentially ways to keep the two entrances and address council's safety concerns. So Zach, I'll let you.
Sure. So yeah, like we talked last time, I think you guys decided to do one entrance in the center of the park with a left turn lane. So that's what the first item is for. Given that left turn lane, we will have to look at the roadway 600 feet in basically either direction for the lane shifts. So we'll be looking at more utility coordination, maybe some right-of-way issues. So that's kind of the difference in that fee, based on what we had put in before for kind of the standard acceleration, deceleration lanes with a passing blister, to change from that into this.
What right-of-way issues would there be?
Well,
When we have the right-of-way on the south side of the road already from the development?
hopefully there is enough. We don't have it laid out We were at, like 90% plans before, so we're kind of starting over.
So we've talked about maybe doing this single entrance. And is there potential for one in, one out, restricted lane flow or movement as far as that goes? And how we know there's eventually going to be a roundabout at
Yes.
450.
Yes, so we,
Saddle Club and 144. Engineering wise, with that entrance, if we make that an out and it loops into the roundabout, is there enough room
yes,
at that west entrance there?
yes, we think there's enough room at that west entrance for two-way traffic. And if you want westbound traffic only, we feel that would be acceptable as well.
So the east entrance, you would do a one-way at the east entrance and then do it out at the west entrance?
Yes, we could do that. So then at your east entrance, would you have a left-hand turning lane?
Well, that's what I'm wondering.
So,
Well, you don't want, and I also worry about the speed limit on that road. You have to have a turn lane, but where does Morningside South entrance affect that?
so Morningside's entrance is 400
Not
foot east.
Morningside, but Saddle Club South, on the other side.
So Saddle Club, their entrance will line up with Saddle Club Road.
Right, at the intersection.
At the
So it'll
intersection.
essentially be a
So
four.
it'll
Okay.
become part of the roundabout.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and then Morningside is 400 foot east of the east property line.
Okay.
So ours would have to be, I think it's 265, 285 feet west of that east property line. So I mean, that is a possibility.
So Suzie, you talking about an exit near the roundabout
See right
to
here?
kind of add into, yeah.
So you loop, so, and my concern is safety into this area here, because the speed limit's 50 miles an
Yeah,
hour.
it's pretty,
Coming out of town at 30, I think it's 50, and then it goes down to 45 to get to Morgantown Road.
I think in one out
Can we do
is better.
something with the speed limit into that area, Julie?
Yeah, I had a conversation with Roy today about starting a speed study, which is what the first step would be to lower the speed limit in that road segment.
Okay,
That segment is under our jurisdiction, so that would be our responsibility to conduct that and reset that.
right.
So,
My biggest concern is anybody coming from west to east and then trying to turn in with the car full of kids doing a left-hand turn into that. And then, but if we, my thing is, I'm concerned about speed limit.
Any comments on one in and one out, so they're not entering and exiting on the two or just one entrance? And my other concern, we do have walking trails on the other side of the street, right, Julie?
we do along the frontage of Saddle Club South.
So if you have kids from that neighborhood, where are they gonna cross to go to the park? They're gonna go all the way down to Nichols, or they're gonna, there'd have to be some kind of crosswalk or something. That's why speed limit, what I'm worried about is kids from that neighborhood, Suzie, are gonna cross, because there's a park there. They're not gonna go all the way down to try to cross there. Kids aren't gonna do that. So they're gonna see a park and they're gonna cross right across. That's just something for future to think about. That's a concern. 50 miles an hour, you got kids on the walking trail on the other side of the park that are gonna wanna cross.
Well, the roundabout probably offers your opportunity.
The roundabout's the best
The
option.
But you're
That's
gonna
not-
have here, you're gonna have a neighborhood, but they're gonna have to go to Nichols and walk all the way up. I'm just saying, I agree, that's your best option.
For South Club South, I'm getting that right. That roundabout needs to have a crosswalk system that works, and that's your safest way to cross. But yeah, for someone coming,
Over here, or those new neighborhoods possibly, they're gonna cross here. They're gonna cross on 144.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, future. And a kid are gonna come up to the park, oh, they're just gonna wait and dart across. So that's something to think about.
So Zach, basically, what you're saying in this single design is that we're gonna lose our turf and we're gonna have to shift the trail.
Hang on. A visual, I haven't seen it, so.
So, yeah,
Yes, center.
Yeah.
Just have room here. And then what was your question?
It would see here, we kind of have the turf into this area, so we're basically making a more aesthetic trail on the front of the park. Is that correct? As to where here, we're not doing that.
Right, well, and given,
We lose that?
kind of, because given the location of this, it's kind of hard, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to kind of undulate that trail. Where this, it makes more sense, there's any room, but if you gotta come up here to meet your entrance, near where your stop bar is. So, coming out and in and then back out.
So I don't think that I'm prepared to vote on one or the other right now. I think we need to get a speed study and then we need to get a little bit more detail out of a road
What's,
engineer in terms of how is all that gonna work with the roundabout? Can that work the in and out? And see it on paper.
Then, is there a way that I can get permission to get some kind of preliminary roundabout design? Because right now, what I'm struggling with is we're trying to fit this park in with a roundabout that is yet to be designed and leave room for it and yet build this project this year.
Who's working?
And
Surely when they laid out, Saddle Club South, they had some geometry for a future roundabout, right? Who did the engineering on Saddle Club South?
I believe Crossroads.
So to me, the natural next step would be to go to Crossroads and see, do they have geometry there that we can work with them to then see how that's gonna look. It won't be a full design,
No,
but we really just need the geometry to see so that we can make sure that if we do a second entrance, it's just out, what's the setback, where does it need to go, how does it safe? And we don't need a full design to do that, but I'm not prepared to vote on one or the other without seeing that and a speed study. I think, I can't say it enough, I would be hugely concerned with 50 miles per hour right there. One or two entrances for that matter. So that's probably a separate topic.
yeah, that's a separate issue.
That's a separate issue.
I can get you a proposal for that.
What speed studies take, how long do they?
I'm gonna talk to the chief about that here in a minute.
But it takes a while.
Take a little while.
So what we probably have to do is at least take a look at what it would look like if we reduced it to X.
It'll have to be based on if it goes to 45 or if it goes to 40.
But that's really a separate issue than the one or two entrances.
Correct. But to see that whole thing with the one or two entrances with the, whatever speed limit it's gonna be, we may need, okay, here's what it would look like if it was 45, here's what it would look like if it's 40, type of thing, just so we know.
So right now, we're struggling to figure out where our footprint's gonna be with this roundabout that has yet to be designed.
Sure. Well, I think we need to go contact Crossroads and get that information, and then I think I would acknowledge that if we do make changes, there's gonna be a change order for the design, and we're gonna have to spend some money to do that, but I don't know that any of us are ready to make that decision, or I'm not.
We will endeavor to get the right information so you can make that decision.
I'm in agreement.
Do you have enough direction then from us, the next step?
We'll work on it for you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Zach.
Next, we have two members from our Parks Board who would like to speak to the council regarding the Founder's Fountain and potentially renaming that park. So I'll let them address that tonight.
That's the only one.
Yeah.
You're solo.
Okay. Hi, I'm Rhonda Ankney. I'm the Vice President of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Council. So we are working in hopes to be able to rename the Founder's Fountain Park. We have kind of done some of our own little studies and found that, one, people don't even know that the park exists or where to find it if they happen to have heard the name. And honestly, I personally feel that the name doesn't reflect the park appropriately. There's really not a fountain in the fountain park, and there's not a park. It's more of a walkway or a plaza or something beside the park, because you would think there'd be benches and trees and picnic tables and all those kinds of things. So in order to promote the park for its purpose, which I believe initially was to give a place for people to pay honor to folks using the pavers as a marker of an event or a memorial or however they wanted to use that. In order to increase interest or sales in those pavers, we thought the first step might be to rename the park to make it feel more appropriate for its purpose. So in your packets, I had offered a couple of names that the commission had voted for. And we gave careful consideration to this because we knew that we wanted to make this a one-time change, that, every 4 or 5 years, people aren't showing up asking to change the name of the park. But we chose Legacy Plaza or Commons as one of the options, and then Legacy and Community Plaza or Commons. And we chose Legacy because we felt like it offered a good representation of the purpose of the park. It still paid homage to the founders, who it was originally set up to memorialize. And it also described what we felt was the overall purpose of the area. By definition, legacy means something transmitted by or received from an ancestor or predecessor, and it's handed down from generation to generation. In Bargersville's proud heritage, the values of the founders, the love and appreciation of our small town, all those things are handed down from one generation to the next. And then the commission also felt that the area was better described as a plaza or commons. And plaza is defined as an open area usually located near urban buildings and often featuring sidewalks, trees, shrubs, places to sit, and sometimes shops. While a commons is defined as a piece of land subject to common use, such as public open area in a municipality, and belonging to or shared by all members of a group. So both words, plaza and commons, simply mean a place for all to share. So I'd like to ask your consideration of those name choices. And if you're not happy with either one of them, we'd certainly appreciate your recommendations.
I personally, if we're going to change it, like the commons, whatever commons, just because it's a common area that's, which I know they both mean that, but it's easier to define them, I think, as the commons. Why do you feel that you would sell more bricks if it was changed?
I don't know that maybe changing it would increase the sales. I know I'm new to the area. I've only been here about 3 years. And when I first heard of the park, I immediately thought that I wouldn't qualify to have a paver there because I'm not a founder. And I felt like maybe the name automatically caused that reaction in more people than me. So I feel like if it's renamed to something that includes everyone.
Leaving your labels.
Yeah. And then by doing that, we would hope as a a council or committee to increase the sales then and to promote it in a better fashion.
Do you happen to know the history behind the Founder's Fountain Park? Is there any?
I
I'm
have,
not aware of any, so
I've done a little research.
I wasn't a founder.
Yeah. I wasn't a founder either. Did I hear where's it at?
Yeah.
Good question.
Yeah, right there.
Example A, right?
You didn't know where.
I didn't know what it was called.
We'll expect
There
you
you
to buy
go.
bricks.
So,
Yeah.
good point.
Unfortunately.
But, I mean, is there any, does anyone know?
I agree with it as founders. I mean, if you don't consider yourself a founder, why would you buy a brick? Now, if it was something like veterans, then I think you'd sell a lot of bricks.
Sure.
I'd love to see something to veterans of Bargersville.
Mhm. And our
We
park
have
out here
nothing.
does kind of have that. It has the benches with the branches.
Is that an area dedicated? Well, I don't. I
So
didn't
that
know
kind of
that.
fit our legacy description as well.
Yeah, right. I'd like to see something more
And
with that.
it does have the rock,
The rock fountain.
That,
if you want to call it.
So you're saying
It's a
Legacy
landscape
Rock
law.
Fountain?
how long ago was that?
Probably, gosh, I don't know.
I think from my research, the park was maybe started, I don't know exactly when finished, somewhere between 2014 and 2016.
That's about right. So
And
I'd
it's-
say 5, 6 years.
Mhm. It's pretty new.
Yeah.
Any comments on Legacy? You like Commons, Legacy
I like
Commons?
Legacy Commons, maybe the other one is too long.
I don't like long, I like two words.
Exactly.
A lot better. Susie? any
No, I like the commons,
Just the Commons
well,
without Legacy?
As a commission, we felt just the Commons would
Would
maybe
be-
feel like Columbus, that we were
Right.
stealing from them. It was a little too close.
I like Legacy Commons. I like that one.
so once again, it doesn't help define an area is what I kind of worry about, Rhonda, is that, much to James's thing, it's the veterans, but once again, that becomes very inclusive and it excludes other people, and that's not the intent, I don't think of that. I appreciate you guys putting time into this, I really do, because I know how difficult it is to do, so I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, there's a lot, but there's some to think about.
Let us just think about this.
Absolutely.
Here, and then Commons is probably gonna be one.
Something
Pretty good with that. Let's just do something maybe a little bit, let's just kind of brainstorm a little bit on this.
Sure, sure. And we had some other ideas as a committee, but if, if you need to know some of those names, I can look back at those, but either way, I'm happy to. fix
Where
it.
do you find out the information about buying the bricks or doing something with, where do you find that information out?
Right now, I think it's kind of hard to find. It is on the Bargersville website, but that's part of our next step process is to think through how to increase the campaign for those sales and to how to offer those to people and make folks more aware that they are available even. First, we got to let them know where it's at. And then where they can place their commemorative paver if they choose to.
You need to sell them at home.
Well, we'll table this to next time or have more consideration.
Okay, absolutely. Well, thank you for your time tonight.
Well, I have you up here.
Yes.
Parks.
Yes.
A couple things. Is it Witt Park there by the church?
Mhm.
Is there any way that maybe you guys can discuss about putting a sign out there? I've had people come to me about having their dogs on a leash.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of people just let their dog roam inside that park.
Oh,
And maybe Julie putting one of those bags up there, because if they're in the park with the leash, I mean, they could use a facility,
Mhm.
use the restroom. So Is that something to think about? Maybe, I don't know
Absolutely.
if that's the Julie or the Haskell Parks Board, that would be,
We'll get that done.
okay, well, we appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
The next item on the agenda is Taxman's annual tax abatement compliance forms. This is for the former fire station building at 89 South Baldwin. It does appear that they are in compliance with the resolution that was passed granting this tax abatement. So this would be an item that council would have the option to approve, and then the forms would get filed with the county for this abatement to get processed
Approved based on their compliance.
with the resolution that is attached.
So we previously, so previously
Yeah,
we
go
did
ahead.
a 5-year tax abatement, 100% abated for 5 years, right? That's what we. We're
So
Yeah,
they-
75 and then
10 years,
50%.
that's right.
And so now you're asking us to.
So their abatement schedule is 5 years at 100% and 5 years at 50%.
Right. That was already approved in 2015,
That
correct?
is correct.
So what are you asking? I guess I'm
So-
confused.
So-
Annually, we have.
Compliance.
Annually, you have to approve that they are still in compliance.
That's the original.
Yeah.
abatement.
Okay, well, that makes sense. So we just have to confirm that they're in compliance.
You confirm that they're in compliance so that the county will process their tax abatement.
Is that a motion?
Yes, I'll make a motion to confirm that they're in compliance, taxman CF1 compliance filing for abatement for 2020.
And I'll second.
First and a second, all in favor, raise your right hand. Aye. None opposed.
Well, I officially have tonight, unless there are questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Mr. Joe.
Good evening.
Okay.
Have some props. So the first item I had is the contract with HWC to develop our Unified Development Ordinances. We kind of brought this here a few times. David's office has drafted up the contract we sent out to HWC. I have not heard back from HWC yet. I'm going to correct my language if I'm wrong, David. I think we're asking the council's grant the authority to game to sign the contract when it's ready to be done.
Question?
A motion to grant the president to approve the professional services contract with HWC Engineering to create the Unified Development Ordinance.
I'll second.
First from Ms. Greenman, second from Ms. Walls, all in favor, raise your right hand. Aye. None opposed.
Does that need to include the not to exceed
Not to exceed 98,000.
88,000 amount?
Can I add that, Andrew?
Not to exceed 98,000.
Second.
Aye.
Thank you, Joe. Aye.
Yeah,
Did you get that, Becky?
thank you.
Making sure all our I's are crossed. And
Thank you.
next item is transfer of ownership and bonding for Saddle Club South. This is a little bit unique as they have chosen to split Saddle Club South Section 2 into 2A and 2B. Staff and utilities have reviewed the bonds and the submittal and find them to be in order. Amounts are good, bonds are good. So they're asking the council to accept the transfer of ownership, accept the bondings, and accept the secondary plat.
So why did we split it?
they needed their sales models, they needed to get more lots online a little quicker than they could get the remainder of that subdivision constructed. The weather in the wintertime slowed the paving. Where 2A was paved, they were not able to pave 2B. Actually just did a roof roll inspection on 2B last week. This will not relieve the requirement of a secondary entrance with X number of lots. I don't remember off the top of my head. There is a lot trigger that secondary entrance has to be in before any more permits be issued.
Comments or questions?
Move we accept the secondary plat for Saddle Club South Section 2A.
I have a motion, Mr. Doyle, I have a second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Moore. All in favor, raise your right hand. Aye. Anyone opposed?
Move we accept the transfer of ownership for the developer installed utilities.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
I move that we accept the maintenance and performance guarantees for the attached memo on the action memo that we have.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed? All right.
I did have one additional item.
An add-on?
There's my first add-on that's come up.
Kevin.
The Rock the Block organizers typically put up temporary signs around town to apply for their temporary sign permits. However, they're asking a waiver of the temporary sign fees that's been granted years past. Rock the Block's the end of this month.
For Rock the Block.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Consensus or consensus, I'm fine with that.
That's all.
I'm good, yeah. Consensus? Okay.
Yeah.
You're good?
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bertram. All right. Looking forward to this all day.
Oh, I bet you have. I bet you have. I just want to give you an update. I've been coming with nothing because I don't really have anything. I wanted to give you an update on the flock security camera that we put out on 144. The first day that it was monitored, got a stolen car off of it. And we've since had 4. Some of them are public meetings, so I'm going to be nice. Some of them are other agencies that are not being very responsible with their IDAC stuff. We'll say that. But they were entered as stolen. The camera caught them, but it turns out it was some mess up. So, but regardless, we had our probable cause for the stop, so it was all fine and worked out good. But that's 4 so far. But other than that, county still hasn't got theirs. They're working on 10 locations and permits, and they got a lot bigger project than we do. But when they get all theirs on Vine, and we have one apartment complex, I think, that's considering buying one for their entrance. So that'll go on our system. So that'll be good.
That's awesome. Thank
Cool.
you.
That's all I have.
All right. Okay, I think that does it for tonight.
Poor Kevin.
Oh, did you make a motion?
I made a motion to adjourn.
Don't second it. Don't do it. Don't second it. You gotta do that. Just walk out.
You're gonna wait till he just starts talking. Yeah.
Feel the love in the room. Good evening. My first item, I'd actually would like to table this and move it to our meeting on April 27th at 11:30 a.m.
I gave David the notice, so.
Okay.
Get that.
Thank you. That works out because we're still working on some information on the electric side that we've not received yet, so. The next item is design services for some of our water projects that we'd like to get started on. This was at our last meeting, and you have the full task order now explaining some of these projects. Jim McNulty is here with Strand. So to recap, This is design, services, bidding, inspection, fees for our new Stones Crossing water tower, our Kinder pump station upgrade, a new Critchfield pump station, and a ground storage tank at our North Water plant. All of these pieces are interconnected along with a 12-inch water main that we're going to put out as an RFQ, hopefully by early next week. So all these water improvements are going to assist with our delivery of water for the 135 corridor the next, I'd say 20 years or so. So big projects for sure. Jim is here to answer any questions. I'm here to answer questions as council wants to kind of review this. We would like to get started as soon as we can. We're still in some negotiation on some property that's related to this, but we feel that that's going to be in our favor here midsummer. But there's nothing really stopping us from starting the design on some of these projects now. Jim, you want to come on up and fine tune anything that I've
Yeah, sure. Keep in mind background, this is probably going to be actually 3 projects we will bid at the same time. The 2 tanks will bid together, but due to their styles, they will be 2 different contracts. And the booster stations will be another contract, so it'll probably be 3 contracts. Our goal is to do them all together simultaneously, bid them, so that way we can save time and effort with our progress meetings, with our bidding, and just gain a lot of efficiencies. And as far as the inspections as well, all these are kind of part-time. Doesn't need somebody there all the time. So by doing more of them, we can get more at one time when we come up and kind of spread those costs over what will be about probably a 16-month construction schedule. So it's really going to be a kind of a drawn-out process once we get into construction. But so the costs are distributed. About actually when you get into that phase, it's only about 40 hours a month, about 1 week a month dedicated to all the construction services during those construction projects. So the more we do, the more efficient we are with those time and those meetings and travel and that kind of thing. So breaking them up, it just costs more in time. If we did things separately, it adds up more. So questions specific to timing is of the essence. The development out there is really ahead of everything right now. And it looks like this property is going to come up this summer, and we need to get out there and survey the other tank site at the water plant, and then get our drawings together for permitting, hopefully by late summer when all the property acquisition follows up and gets secured. So we've been working on this for 2 years, and ironically, we've been up in this area, this Stones Crossing Road. We've had probably 3 or 4 different sites and opportunities, and then now everybody wants the water, and we've been trying to get a site for quite some time, and hopefully it plays out.
Council, any questions?
Remind me if, I know we're gonna have this meeting to go over the budget and talk through everything, but all of these would still qualify to be reimbursed by the bonding that we anticipate to do for this.
Yes.
So this is not really hitting the budget. It might temporarily.
Temporarily,
In
yes.
the long run, the goal is to utilize bond funds.
Correct. Baker Tilly at the next meeting will give some advice on that, on items they feel we should use local funds and items that can be reimbursable. And this is certainly one that can be reimbursable. I think we've been using local funds for easement acquisition and some other miscellaneous cost up front just to keep things moving. But absolutely, this can be included in a future bond.
And for a frame of reference, the approximate price tag on these 3 projects, the actual construction, just a range, do we have a?
Probably in the $5 million range.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's So 5.3, so with the total budget?
Sounds about right, yeah.
5.3.
And with the one tank being the biggest piece of that project.
No, that's not the budget. That's not the budget for the project.
Yeah, we've got those.
That's-
Yeah.
that's just a volume.
So what do you think the total, you said around 5, is that? for these
So
3 projects, is that?
if you give me a second, I can pull up the Baker Tilly report here. Those are line items, so I can look those up. It's just gonna take a second to.
And that will span over till 2023, what will that span over?
Yeah, it'll be in the 2023 when we hope to have the tank will be the longest project to construct, and we definitely want that online at 23, but it might be spring or summer of 23 getting that online. So that's the most,
That's the one that's needed yesterday.
that's the one I needed the most. But that doesn't take away from this 12-inch main you're talking about. That, you know, that can be done as quickly as it can be ahead of the tank and still have some benefit out there. But we do want it to, for the future, to fill this tank as well. And you'll have plenty of chance to say, we'll do our design, we'll have to revise our cost opinion. Pricing unfortunately is on its way up right now because of
Materials, that's what I was gonna ask.
materials. I was at the WWA conference today and talking to people, and it's we'll have to see where we get when it comes summertime because steel production is not recovered yet from what it was pre-COVID. And there's a lot of money floating around, so I'm afraid it's going to keep the prices high or higher than what they were a year or 2 years ago. And we'll be revising those as we get our design done, and then we'll get updated costs to make sure we're still on track with everything.
So in terms of the schedule, the money going out, the design services are what we need right away to keep going.
We won't get anything.
And that's is that a do not exceed of 220? That's just a lump sum, do not exceed of 225 on that.
Right, that's.
We won't even get into the bidding or the construction related until maybe the bidding, but the construction related services.
Yeah, probably next year, before that really kicks in. Kind of when we bid it, but late this year or early next, and most of that will be in 22 and into 23. So it's going to spread out quite a bit in that regard.
If we do the whole thing, then we lock them in so they can't raise the price in the future.
So I've got some.
coming back.
It says an hourly rate, do not exceed.
I've got.
That's the advantage of doing it right now, and you're locking them in before, because construction prices are gonna be through the roof.
I've got some numbers if you want to jot down.
Sure.
So the water tower project, this is pre-COVID pricing. So the water tower is 3.7 million.
More than that. How much steel's in that, do you think, Jim? Roughly.
I don't know, I guess how many tons steel are there. That's stuff, you're not talking half to an inch thick steel.
I mean, is it half that, let me put it this way, how much of that cost do you think is actual steel? I know painting it's probably at $500,000, but the actual steel portion of that is half that value, you think?
I don't think it's half that value. There's a lot of labor and welding and stuff that goes into that, and site work and that kind of thing, so.
Maybe $1.25 million.
Maybe somewhere in that range, and, and that's what's, if that goes up,
We just went to 4.7.
Yeah, you're at $5
that goes
million.
up 50% on steel, then you could easily see a, $300,000-$500,000 increase in costs.
It's double. Right now, it'd be double what that price was for the steel.
For the steel, that's what I've heard, the steel has basically doubled since first of the year about. And they hope it stabilizes, but we'll know when we get there, and,
So 3.7 to 5 million.
yeah.
What's the other one?
The north plant storage tank is 2.3 million.
Okay.
Then our Kinder pump station upgrades, 275,000.
Seems like a bargain.
Big numbers out.
So I was thinking we already got to 5 really quick, so.
Richfield pump station, Let's see. Is 1.2 million. And
Yeah, you're talking about $10 million.
yeah, I've got one other item here that kind of pieces in that we've not sent out for design yet, but this is transmission main from that Critchfield pump station down 135. We're estimating that that is going to be 2.3 million.
Is that included in this?
No,
That's not
down the road
included.
away.
That's down the road, so the transmission mains are not part of this design services. We'll send those out for RFQ.
We need the upgrade first to be able to do that.
Yeah, there's pieces that we need to get going on and easement acquisition.
Yeah, that took a long time for easement. We're gonna our goal will be to put it in where we could expand the pumping. If transmission mains will allow down the road. At least we get something in and have some ability to help feed that corridor of the system.
Get the bottom machine going.
Yeah,
The infrastructure bill.
Already, you have to
2
have-
trillion, this is peanuts.
And we are actually, there are,
Public meetings.
there are some opportunities for federal dollars, and we're watching that, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep your eyes out. I mean, I think we got shovel-ready stuff. Sometimes if you got something ready to go and ready to bid, then you may have opportunities. So you always got to kind of watch for those coming up.
Yeah. Do I have any other questions or comments or a motion?
So right now, we're just looking for an approval for the design services for the water improvements.
$485,000.
I move to approve the design services for water improvements not to exceed 485,000.
I have a first, do I have a second?
Okay.
I have a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Aye. And opposed.
Thank
Very
you.
much. Just to clarify, you say design services, that's the complete agreement for everything that's on there.
Yes, what's submitted to us.
There's more than just design in there. There's more than-
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
Oh, right.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Want to make
Are
sure.
you okay with that?
I am, excellent. That's what it's for.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
The next item is Aberdeen invoice water main cost share, $12,562.01. A lot of discussion on this and searching, and Jim is here also to advise on this. Mr. Duke is here also. We've got some minutes from previous administration and council meetings. We also found an invoice today with the help of Julie, previous invoice that was paid. Based off the minutes that was addressing Walnut Grove, it was not addressing Aberdeen, but it was signed off and paid. And I know there's some tech review comments, you know, addressing that a 12-inch main shall be run. And on those minutes, the way I read it is each project was to be reviewed by the council on a case-by-case basis. And I can't find minutes where this one was addressed by council. And then the other item is, I'll let Jim talk about water flow and hydraulics, but with this being a one-way feed, I'm not sure if that was taken into account that to achieve fire flow, it had to have a 12-inch water main. So that's kind of where we're at. Jim, can you give some 2 cents here on hydraulics and kind of how that works and how you guys calculate that?
Right. we looked at this in July of 2019 and looked at, I think, phases 2 and 3. And looked at our files, and all I see that we were asked to evaluate a 12-inch line as it went into the subdivision, went all the way back, and some of the branches were lesser size. I think the hydraulic form we were provided indicated a desire to have 1,250 gallons per minute of fire flow at the end of the line. And we ran a 12-inch line along the main road. We were able to get 1,250 gallons per minute of fire flow, which exceeded, or was actually a little bit higher than about 1,500 gallons a minute, which exceeded what was requested. So we were good with that hydraulically when we looked at it. Didn't see anything in our file where we looked at anything other than a 12-inch main line going through there. But we did go back and look at it again. Put a 12-inch, 8-inch line in place of that 12, and we were not able to achieve less than 1,000 gallons a minute of fire flow. About 900 is what we show on our hydraulic model. And that's under peak conditions, peak demand times, which is always the way we run our hydraulics. So that 900 would not have achieved at least what was requested of having 1,250 gallons per minute. But we did not run the 8-inch at the time that I could see looking back at our file. So, and that's why we run it, and it's just what number we're trying to shoot for on the fire flow availability. And running an 8-inch line that far, you have a lot of friction losses in that line. So by having a dead end line, time you get out to the end of it, you lose a lot of pressure and a lot of flow in that line. If there's a looped line, it's a completely different scenario. Like you see most subdivisions looped from one end to the other. This is not the case, at least at the time. So, so we concluded that the 12-inch satisfied the requirements that were requested, and that's where our letter stated at the time. So, any specific questions? I'm happy to answer those.
Mike, you
I
want
got additional information.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike Duke here, representing Aberdeen. I sat through a lot of meetings regarding this, and it was not just going to be just a line that went and stopped. Every conversation I heard was that even I know going down Morgantown Road, they wanted to update 12, and I think you maybe only have a 6, maybe from, if I remember right, from 144 going down there, and that was going to have to be upsized. The town was going to upsize that, so that's why we had to run the 12 there. And then the whole idea was that there was going to have to be looped, that the town was going to have to loop that somewhere from coming off of the Robinson Road there to the west, where it runs down that road, or somewhere or other areas where it might get hooked into. We were told to run a 12. I can't find the minutes. I dug through my file from Kevin McGinnis. It's not with us anymore at our office, and found things. But I sat through those meetings, and we were told to put a 12-inch. Because you're definitely going to have to loop it somewhere, and it's something you guys are going to have to do down the road. So that was the reason why that had happened. I do have, the first invoice from section 1 where it was paid, where it was talked about here, with, I think this is Bargersville Notes, I think came in with a check, from the town of Bargersville, 12/4/2018, check number 24,477. And it even states in your guys' coding or whatever about an 8-inch to 12-inch water main upsize. And I also know that his legislature passed over a year ago that if a town requests it to be upsized, doesn't necessarily come from the council meetings, it's from the text or whatever, that the law is that we're supposed to be reimbursed. So that was the reasoning why we were doing this.
Just going forward
David?
next year.
Okay, I just wanted to ask David.
It is accurate. It's effective July 1st, so it'd be development going forward.
You have this.
Right, so if this were to happen,
I found this and
so if this were to happen,
printed out of Kevin McGinnis' file today I had.
if
You see
someone,
your coding down there, it says from 8-inch to 12-inch upgrade.
to clarify, so if this were to happen today, if Mr. Duke or anyone else for that matter were to come to us and say, I want to put in an 8-inch, and we request them to upsize it to 12 for whatever reason, we have to pay the difference between the 8 and the 12,
Correct.
based on the new statute.
Based on the new statute. You have to follow the IURC regulations, which that's what it requires, even though you're not under IURC.
Right, so the question on this is, we don't have any paperwork, Kevin, or documentation that says that that's the issue, right? No one knows.
Because the wrong
If
minutes
we
were put
request
with
it.
that document.
That's a different document there.
Oh, this is different.
That's-
This is
yeah.
just showing that this
I just
happened
got that, found that and printed
on
this morning.
another
And
situation.
it shows right there from town of Bargersville coding, 8 inch, 12 inch. Shows right. It came with the check. For this, this is section 1 in Aberdeen where we got reimbursed for.
That's what I was gonna ask. Did you get reimbursed on this?
Yeah, that's the check from section 1 for the upgrade.
That was because they put the minutes for Walnut Grove with that project. Well, if I'm right, if I heard you right, Kevin.
But I did sit in the meetings, I heard all that. So, and it wasn't just gonna be a line that went stopped. From my understanding was the town was gonna have to feed it another direction too. That was the intent, so.
It sounds like what
Who was the engineer?
Joe was saying.
Was there an engineer on our side on this, Kevin, or?
I don't know if we were doing, I think we were just doing hydraulic reviews at that time. I don't know if we were sending anything out.
So Westler was the one that reviewed this one too, so.
I remember there were a lot of discussions, like you say, that went around, but I don't see any documentation of any results from that. I know there was talk about going through eventually, but the bottom line right now is hydraulically, it could not support a fire flow until that happened, so right now, as it was put in, it needed the 12 just to be able to get that fire flow capacity.
So what is that, so from a legal perspective, if it has to be a 12, there wasn't an option for it to be an 8. What is that? From my perspective, this is more about setting the precedent and making sure that we're clear with everybody, whether it's you or the next time you're coming to do this, that there's no question and it's clear as day for everyone, because I don't want to sow confusion on how we handle this. I think that's not fair to the developers, it's not fair to staff or.
Yeah, I mean, we're just trusting doing what we're told to do, so that's not fair to us in this situation either.
There is specific language in the statute about fire upgrade. I just can't, let me see if I can find the statute.
Well, do we want to table this
Can
and
we table
allow
this,
it?
get the information?
Because it sounds like the fire,
There is a component about the fire upgrade in the statute. I just don't know whether it's irregardless of the fire upgrade, you have to pay or whatever. It just gotta, because this is the first one we've had
So
where this issue
let's
has come
just
up.
table it until we can find
So
that
what-
language.
but to clarify, David, this happened prior to the law change.
Correct.
Yes. So it really should make a difference.
Well,
Well, I
I mean,
mean,
if there was,
looking
if
from
there,
that.
but if there's documentation, if someone can give us documentation where the council said, yes, we're gonna do this, then
Yeah.
I don't think that's fair to Mike or anyone for that matter, but.
Correct.
But if there's nothing, it's prior to the statute, but I'm more worried about going forward than I am about, I don't know, that's not so fair to you tonight.
No, I mean, because there was no talk about the fire stuff. It was gonna have to be looped somewhere, and the town was gonna be having to upgrade along Morgantown Road, and they were gonna have to loop it somewhere. So, I mean, wasn't really my fault.
It would have to be looped on the wing to the west somehow or another.
Yeah, I mean, and you could probably answer this, if it was an 8 inch running through there and it looped it to the west, it was probably gonna be okay then.
Very likely it would be okay.
So that's what the deal was. I know there were several people sitting around in those tech meetings that probably remember that.
I wasn't at tech meeting.
No, I wasn't there.
I would agree.
So, sounds like we have some more research to do
This
on
is-
your end, Kevin, and then to try and find TAC meeting notes or anything around that, and then let David do his research and then come back and give Mr. Duke a decision.
The next item is the request for a purchase of a fire hydrant maintenance equipment. This will allow, this is an attachment to our excavation equipment for $10,898. This allows us to go to a fire hydrant and basically scrub the paint off of it. Right now, we just use wire brushes by hand and paint, and this will actually go over the hydrant, and we'll do it much faster and allow us to knock out a higher quantity of hydrants throughout the summer. So be a nice,
Is this a specialized thing that only one company or something? It seems like one of those specialized.
yes.
It's usually three.
Paint descaling removal unit.
Just FYI, on, and I don't know, Vern, I know this is, we've talked about this before, but you submit the budget on here, and it's, I don't even see a highlight
Yeah,
where it is. There's generally a one-page thing that shows the pie chart of what we've spent, what we've got
Yeah.
remaining, and then the number that you're gonna, that would help us much more than the 6-page budget report, if we don't even know where to go.
Yeah, so in this case,
Budget.
pie chart wouldn't have worked because the capital budgets aren't set yet. So,
So is that what this is, since we haven't set the budgets?
well, I can't say whether or not if it were set, if you'd have a pie chart, but we'll make sure going forward that they include that. But as we work with Baker Tilly, this is an item that was identified, and we'll make sure that it is budgeted for this year. We just need to get going on hydrant maintenance, so.
I don't think you have the right budget code, because that capital improvements for buildings. And you,
Yeah, this should be equipment.
That's not known, right?
So the face sheet, it says capital equipment.
but when you look at that number, that code number, it's
Okay,
capital building.
okay.
So this,
We'll make sure it's equipment when we actually pay the invoice.
it'd be 4450100. 91-914.
It's started wrong here, yeah, it's 914 on the face sheet here, Kevin.
Okay,
It should be 445.
91-914. Dash 4450100. And you had a budget of $48.99.
That page.
So it's very
This
bottom,
says the zero,
it's
okay.
very bottom, but it should, well, I don't know, that's,
The cap equipment.
how about, I'll check that.
I'll just move to approve the fire hydrant maintenance equipment in the amount of $10,898 and put it in the right budget line.
I just want to make sure we don't need another employee and we have a place to store this.
yes, yes, and yes. Or no on an employee, yes, place to store it.
Okay.
Second.
I have a, first, well, say, all in favor, raise your right hand. Aye, none opposed.
And with moving our utility budgets to the 27th, I'd like to also request that we move the bid wastewater facility. Nothing else to the 27th and possibly further out.
Okay.
We're good with that consensus, hear that, Becky? Okay.
The next item is acceptance of transfer of ownership and maintenance bond. Calvert Farm, Section 4, water main, and along with that is a maintenance bond.
Move to accept the transfer of ownership, Calvert Farm Section 4, water main.
I have a motion, Mr. Will.
I'll second.
A second, Mr. Will. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed.
I move to accept the three-year water main maintenance bond number 7901048905 for the amount of $55,200.
Motion by Mr. Will,
Second.
second by Ms. Moore. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed.
Thank you. Almost done here. Would like some input on broadcasting of our meetings. As you know, right now, we're live on YouTube with potential also on Facebook. We've,
Seen it in Fox News.
right.
I'll give my 2 cents. I know what David thinks. You don't have to say anything, but I like to be open to the public. And that's just my opinion. I'm 1 to 5.
It's kind of a two-part question. So continuing broadcasting live after COVID restrictions are lifted, and then whether or not we're storing those meetings for them to be viewed at a later date, because that's an option too. We can not do that, or we can allow those to be stored in the cloud.
Is there any legal requirements
I
on
was gonna say.
dates?
There are requirements for storing.
Storing and how long you store them? Okay.
So do we have any documentation as to who is logging on and whether they accept our terms from the town?
I'm not sure if it can do that.
To that.
I know before I came up to the podium, there was 5 people logged into YouTube watching currently.
I know that, I mean, if you think about it, every time we log into something, Suze, it's, you
Have to
accept the
accept their-
terms. We can have one of those things pop up.
Municipality. Mhm. Have to accept their terms.
So-
I just think people can't make sometimes can't make the 1 o'clock meetings. That's why I like to continue.
Sure.
Keep this open.
We don't know the time frame that they have to be stored, they can be stored.
So we can research that on the
So I'm
storage.
just thinking this thing we
Yeah.
had here with Mike, if we had the meetings, we
Yeah.
could look back and we would know. There wouldn't be a question.
So we'll look into that on storage and then bring this back up. In the meantime, we'll continue to broadcast live. And then I do have a walk-on item.
Wait,
Acceptable.
Ruthie, do that motion. He's got paper. Yeah, you gotta do that.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Not to exceed.
So Johnson County Highway is working with Strand actually on a roundabout design at Stones Crossing and Saddle Club Road. We do have facilities in the area that need to be relocated. I would like to hire Crossroad Engineers for $25,000 to be the town's representative on this project for design and coordination with the county.
Any comments or motions?
I would move to approve Crossroad Engineers for the water main relocation fee at Stones Crossing and Saddle Club roundabout project, amount not to exceed $25,000.
I'll second.
Motion, Mr. Ross, second, Ms. Walls. All in favor, raise your right hand. Aye. And opposed?
Any questions for me? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anything else from the council? Everything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
Second.
Okay.
See you, Mike.